G'day everyone, this morning I am in Sydney in New South Wales and we're going to catch this, the XPT, all the way back to Melbourne. It's about a 10-hour trip and I'm riding in economy, so I'm going to go through all the things that I guess you can expect from a trip like this. So let's go get on board and, well, get into it. Okay, so let's have a look at this trip. This is a twice daily service from Sydney to Melbourne and vice versa. The XPT also runs to other locations throughout New South Wales. These include Dubbo, Casino, Grafton, and to Brisbane in Queensland. This service is the daytime run. However, there is also a night train as well, and that has first-class sleeping berths. But that might be for another trip. The XPT has been operating for the last 40 years, and the trains might look a little familiar to a lot of you, as they are based on the British HST locomotives, although these were built here and for Australian conditions. So this trip is scheduled to take around 11 hours, and we left bang on time at 7:30 from Central Station, a station that is an icon of the Australian railways, with its amazing grand concourse and high frequency of suburban trains. And now in 2023, it's undergoing improvement works to connect the new driverless Sydney Metro trains. It even has a light rail stop. Our destination of Melbourne is an 869km trip, and it will end at Southern Cross railway station in the heart of Melbourne. Now, what can I say about this service? It's certainly cost effective. A seat cost me $75 for economy. This is in vast contrast to the flight that I'd taken to get to Sydney, which had cost me $250 for a 1-hour flight with Qantas, which, without going into too much detail, had been cancelled twice before I even got to fly. Now, the train works its way out of the Sydney suburban network into some very beautiful country, and it passes through some iconic railway towns like Mossvale, Junee, Cootamundra, Albury and Seymour, even traversing the Bethungra Spiral, somewhere I visited in a previous video. As well as here at Gunning, and I do need to give a special thanks to Paul Sadler, who can be found on YouTube under Express Train Photography, which I'll leave in the description below, who captured my train roaring through Gunning. These trains operate at a running speed of anywhere between 100 and 160 kilometres an hour. But to be honest, Australia's railway lines aren't much chop and it can be a bit bouncy at times. However, back in 1993, they did push one of these out to 193 kilometres per hour with the aim to get to 200, but it never quite got there. So on board, the seats are comfortable and can be reclined. They even have the little airline style table and footrests. I know in first class, you can get a seat that reclines further, and the sleeping cabins are switched to a private seating compartment. So I guess it's there if you do want more comfort or privacy. The service I rode was off the back of a number of large events happening in Sydney that weekend, namely the Forestville Model Railway Show, or perhaps some bloke with a guitar. Nonetheless, my train was almost constantly booked throughout the trip, which did make filming this a little bit hard. But on that, you do need to book a seat, and I found it very easy using the Transport New South Wales website. On board, the train has bathrooms, and they're clean and they do their job. Apparently, there is also shower facilities for the passengers who booked sleeping berths. As for food, there is a buffet on board. Serves a range of food and drinks and sandwiches, snacks and hot food, as well as some soft and adult beverages, none of which are included with your ticket. And being that this service does take so long, there are 3 hot meal services on this trip. You make an order via the attendant after the meals are announced, and about an hour later it's ready. Now personally I decided to give these a miss, and I just brought my own snacks. I did, however, buy possibly the most expensive and lackluster coffee in Australia. At $3.90 for a tea bag of coffee and hot water, it sure left much to be desired. My tip, once again, is to stock up on snacks before you leave. Now, some things to keep in mind when you're travelling on this service. These carriages were introduced in the 1980s and don't have anything that you would come to expect from a modern train service. There are no power plugs and there's no Wi-Fi, which is frankly disappointing. Now don't get me wrong, I can get away with no power, portable batteries are readily available nowadays, but the lack of Wi-Fi or telco boosters is a bit naffed. There is little to no reception on this trip, and I'm sure frequent riders of these services would very much benefit from this. So why catch the XPT when flying is considerably quicker? I mean, as a rail fan, I quite enjoyed the trip, passing through locations I guess I would not normally get to see. Maybe even finding some new locations for line-side videos in the future and things like that. And to be fair, the train was comfortable enough. It was announced back in 2016 that the XPT service would be seeing a replacement in 2023, although it is still hotly debated when the new trains will actually be here. It's now estimated that the Spanish-built bi-mode Calf Civity trains will be here and maybe in service by 2026 or even 2027. Guess it probably would have been better if they were built locally. They look like a mix between the Victorian Velocity trains and the New South Wales Explorers, and it should be noted that there seems to be no word on whether this service will have sleeping compartments, and thus I assume that we're going to lose the nighttime service. I guess this is something that will come to light in the future, and I mean, it would be great to see the old Southern Aurora come back, something with, a bit more character, but I guess that this rail fan can just keep dreaming. Regardless, I guess I had fun. It was a great way to spend a day. You get more room than on a plane, and you can bring more stuff, and it would be handy if you were returning from a big model railway exhibition, or something like that. Now, my train ran pretty well exactly on time. We were, at one point, down about 15 minutes, although that was made up somewhere north of the border. And we got into Southern Cross bang on 6:30. Now I think that was just luck. As someone who's been chasing trains a long time, this seldom seems to happen, so be warned. So would I make this trip again? Yes. But next time, I think I'll do the sleeping service, and if that is something you'd like to see, then let me know in the comments. Also, if you want to see a really great video in my opinion, and in far more depth than this one, check out Phil's video, which I'll leave a link for in the description. Anyway, thank you all for coming along on this trip, and if you have any feedback, of course leave it in the comments, and I'll see you all again soon. Hooroo!